Forever is not hyperbole. It is the accurate description of what happens in the avoidance interior when the specific person, the one whose particular combination of qualities reach the interior in the way that only this configuration of person reaches it, becomes part of the avoidance permanent relational landscape. Not permanent in the sense of being continuously present. Not permanent in the sense of the avoidant acting on the bonding in any of the ways that bonding conventionally calls for, the sustained, expressed, consistently demonstrated investment of someone who has chosen another person and is showing the choosing through their daily behavior. Permanent in the deeper, more structural sense of something that has altered the interior landscape in a way that the landscape does not return from. That has installed itself in the avoidance interior as a reference point, a standard, a specific and irreplaceable presence in the permanent geography of who the avoidant is and who they have been genuinely, at the deepest level of their attachment capacity, reached by. The avoidant who bonds forever to someone is not aware, in most cases, that the bonding is permanent. The management system does not provide this information. The self-sufficiency narrative does not accommodate this information. The interior, which carries the bonding, does not announce it in terms that the avoidance conscious mind can readily access and act on. The permanence is felt rather than known, present in the specific quality of how the person lives in the avoidance interior across months and years, and the accumulation of subsequent experiences and subsequent connections that all, in ways the avoidant cannot fully control or prevent, measure themselves against the standard this person set. The person the avoidant bonds to forever is not the person who loved them most generously, though generosity may be present. It is not the person who was most patient with the pattern, though patience may be present. It is not the person who understood the avoidance psychology most thoroughly, or who stayed the longest, or who expressed their love most eloquently, or who gave the most of themselves in the service of the connection. The specific person, the one who generates the permanent bonding, is the person who reached the part of the avoidant that no management strategy has ever successfully defended against. The deepest interior, the place beneath the self-sufficiency performance, beneath the management protocol, beneath the carefully maintained positioning as the less invested party, where the avoidant's genuine self lives, the self that wants what all human selves want, that needs what all human selves need, that has been carrying across the entire history of the avoidant's defended relational life, the specific longing for the specific quality of connection that the management was installed to protect against, and that this one particular person, through the entirely non-strategic quality of simply being who they are, produced. This person did not reach the interior through effort. They did not arrive there through the patient, sustained, technique-refined approach of someone who understood the architecture of the avoidance defenses and found the specific gap through which genuine contact could be made. They arrived there because they are the specific configuration of person that the avoidance interior was, without knowing it was waiting for. The depth that matched the avoidance suppressed depth. The groundedness that provided the specific quality of non-threatening presence that the avoidance monitoring system had been unable to find in any previous person. The genuine wholeness that made the avoidance performance of wholeness feel, in comparison, not like a strength, but like a cost. The bonding is permanent because it installs itself at the level where permanent things install themselves. Not in the cognitive layer where the avoidant processes relationship information and constructs the narratives that make the information manageable. Not in the behavioral layer where the management protocol governs the specific choices the avoidant makes about distance and engagement. In the foundational layer. The layer where the avoidant's most primary experiences of genuine connection live. Experiences that are few enough in the avoidance relational history that each one occupies significant interior real estate simply by virtue of its rarity. The genuine connection produced by this specific person is rare in the avoidance experience in a way that makes it permanent by the specific logic of scarcity. The avoidant has been managing against genuine connection across their entire relational life. The management has been effective. The interior has been protected from the full depth of genuine closeness with a thoroughness that most people would find, if they had the external view, almost remarkable. The protection has been so effective that the instances of genuine connection that have penetrated it are genuinely few. This person is one of those instances, and the few genuine things are remembered differently from the many managed things. They are held at a different depth. They occupy a different kind of interior space. They are not processed and filed and made into the raw material of narrative the way managed experiences are processed and filed. They remain in the form they arrived in, with the specific, unprocessed, still carrying the original quality of something that was genuinely received rather than managed. What makes the bonding specifically forever, rather than the significant but ultimately processable bonding of someone who mattered and is now past, is the impossibility of replacement. The avoidant's subsequent relational life after the connection with this person is a continuous, involuntary, unflattering to everyone else exercise in encountering the absence of what this specific person was, not through deliberate comparison, not through the conscious maintenance of a checklist against which subsequent people are assessed, through the automatic, below-conscious, entirely non-chosen operation of an interior that has been calibrated by the experience of genuine connection with this person to recognize what genuine connection feels like, and that recognizes in the encounters that follow the specific and consistent absence of that quality. The subsequent encounters are not without value. The subsequent people are not without their own genuine qualities, but they are not this person. Not in the specific, foundational, this configuration of interior qualities sense that makes this person irreplaceable rather than simply temporarily irreplaceable. The world does not readily produce the specific combination. The avoidant, moving through the world with the involuntary calibration that the genuine connection installed, discovers this with the patient, impersonal, entirely unintended thoroughness of repeated experiment. The forever of the bonding is the impossibility of the standard being met by someone who is not the person who said it. The person who generates this bonding is almost never aware of its permanence. Because the permanence is interior and the interior is managed, and the management prevents the permanence from finding visible expression in the avoidance behavior in any consistent, legible, clearly communicated way. The bonding is permanent in the avoidant. It is invisible in the avoidance presentation. The person who generated it has, in many cases, moved on, has done the work of the genuine letting examined in the previous piece, has built the life that the holding was preventing, has arrived at the genuinely inhabited, fully their own, no longer organized around the avoidant version of their existence that the releasing made possible, has discovered in the living of that life that the connection, however genuinely significant it was, however real the feeling on both sides, however much it reached something in them that other connections had not reached, was not sufficient as the foundation of the life they deserved, and has, from the honest place of someone who valued themselves enough to stop waiting, moved into the life that was always available on the other side of the release. The avoidant carries them into this life, not demonstrably, not in ways that would be visible to anyone, including, most of the time, the avoidant themselves, but in the specific, foundational, permanent geography of the interior way of something that has installed itself at the level where permanent things live, in the standard that subsequent connections are measured against, in the specific quality of what is recognized as missing in every encounter that does not reproduce the particular configuration this person embodied, in the private, unwitnessed, management-containing, but never quite fully containing interior event of encountering something in the world that carries an association and feeling before the management can intercept the feeling. the specific quality of what the genuine connection felt like. In the knowing, carried quietly, not always consciously, but never fully absent, that there was a person who reached the interior, that the interior was reached, that the genuine connection was real and was permanent in the only way that matters, in the alteration of the interior landscape in a way the landscape does not return from. The forever bonding is not a promise. It is not a guarantee that the avoidant will ever act on the bonding in ways that would serve either person. It is not a reason to wait or to hope or to organize your life around the eventual arrival of the avoidant's readiness to honor what the interior has been carrying. It is simply the truth of what happened in the avoidant's interior when you were present in their life. The truth of what your specific, genuine, irreplaceable presence produced. In the one place that the management cannot fully govern, you bonded them, not through strategy, not through the perfect calibration of your approach, through the honest, complete, entirely non-strategic quality of simply being who you are, in the specific way that who you are was, for the avoidance interior, the exact thing that the management was never quite designed to defend against. The bonding is permanent. It lives in them, quietly, in the interior, in the standard, in the specific, irreplaceable, management-containing, but never quite extinguishing knowing that you were the one who reached them, and that the reaching, however inadequately it was honored, however poorly it was met, however much the management prevented it from becoming what it was capable of becoming, was real, is real, will remain real in the only place that real things in the avoidance carefully defended, deeply longing, quietly permanent interior are ever truly kept,